Okay, now the last new film that I'm going to be talking about is Central Intelligence. Now, Central Intelligence is a new comedy film starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart. Had this kind of comedic double act, this kind of like odd couple, kind of big guy, little guy, kind of, opposites double act comedy film. And I was actually excited to see this film. I'm not a big fan of modern comedy films. I don't really like comedy films of today, really. But the trailers I liked. I thought the trailers, I had fun with the trailers, I enjoyed them, and I also like the idea of it being Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart teaming up. I do like Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, but I'm not a massive fan of either of them when they're on their own, but I thought them teaming up in this kind of comedic, double act comedy film, I thought that could be really fun. And yeah, it was pretty much what we got. It wasn't the greatest film, I think it could have been better, but for what it was, for what it needed to be, for what the trailers made it out to be, it delivered, so I can't really complain. I think it could have been a better film, like I said. But as far as delivering on the comedy, delivering on the chemistry between the two leads, the performances of the two leads, the relationship they had, them working together, it fired on all cylinders. I can't really complain in that respect because I really like both Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart in this film. Like I said, I'm not a massive fan of either of theirs. I like them both. I think they're both good at what they do. And it was cool to see them together. I really like them as this kind of comedic odd couple double act. Dwayne Johnson being the big guy and Kevin Hart being the little guy. But what I really liked, what they did slightly differently, was that they cast against type in a certain respect. Like Dwayne Johnson, he usually plays the serious, tough, straight guy, but he was more of the kind of crazy, silly, over-the-top one, and Kevin Hart was more of the straight, serious one. Obviously, Kevin Hart's still very much like Kevin Hart, and Dwayne Johnson's still very much like Dwayne Johnson, but as far as, Dwayne Johnson being the more silly one instead of being serious and tough, and Kevin Hart being the more like, straight, come on, serious, we need to do, we can't do anything stupid here, instead of being like all crazy, And I think really the best thing about this film, and the biggest positive I can give it, is that the two leads were great as this kind of comedic double act, because it really revolves all around them. So if they weren't any good, it would have really fallen flat and got really boring. But for me, Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart did a great job together as this comedic double act, because that's what the film was really all about. It was about Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart teaming up in this comedy film, and I think they did a really good job at really selling it to us, how they bounce off one another, the chemistry they have, the relationship they have, the comedy back and forth between the two of them I thought was great. It was really what drove the film, what the film was all really about, because story-wise it wasn't anything special. We had this kind of like spy type story about the CIA, about something that they wanted that could leak codes on something. It was, pretty generic, kind of uninspired story, but, I can't complain about that because it was about Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. That's what the film was all about. It was about these two coming together as this comedic double act, and that worked really well. It was the best thing about this film. Because for me, if it wasn't for those two, it probably wouldn't have been as good as it was, but they really made the film. They really helped sell it to us, sell the comedy to us. For me, the film was let down when the story kind of got in the way. Like, they tried to have this story here, this serious spy story, and it kind of bogged the comedy down in a certain respect. Not too often, not too much, but it kind of got in the way in some cases. This whole Black Badger thing that they keep going on about and keep hammering over our heads. Who is the Black Badger, It just got a little kind of like, okay, just forget about it. Let's just have some fun here with the two leads. And like I said, that's what the film mainly did. Just like whenever this storyline kept getting in the way, it was like, oh, just get out of the way. I don't care about the Black Badger. And they keep going on about it. It was kind of good in the way, in that it was quite intriguing. Like, they kind of played it as, oh, you don't really know who Dwayne Johnson is. Is he this kind of silly, over-the-top guy that he makes out, or is he quite deadly and serious and even he's putting on this act? So it kind of kept you guessing in that respect. And in that sense I liked it, because it was like, oh, so is he really like this silly, over-the-top, clownish guy? Or is he really deadly and serious and he's just hiding that? We didn't know if he was telling the truth, whether he is who he says he is, or whether it's everybody else that's got it wrong, and it kind of kept you guessing in that respect, which I liked, and I thought they did that well. Like, you really didn't know whether he was telling the truth or not, whether Kevin Hart should really believe him, or whether, it was the other guys who were in the wrong, who really was the Black Badger. But, like I said, sometimes when they went too far with the whole Black Badger thing, it just got in the way a bit, and it was like, okay, just enough of the Black Badger. If you haven't seen the film, you really don't know what the hell I'm talking about with this Black Badger thing, but I guarantee you, when you see the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They just keep going about the Black Badger all the time, to the point where it's like, okay, you can stop saying Black Badger. Especially come the end of the film, there's like this standoff where they're trying to figure out who the Black Badger is. Is Dwayne Johnson the Black Badger? Is this other guy the Black Badger? Who is the Black Badger? And they keep saying the Black Badger all the time. I feel like I'm saying the Black Badger all the time now, so I'm going to stop saying it because I'm becoming what the film... I'm doing the same thing as the film is, and I'm just criticising the film, saying Black Badger all the time, and I'm saying Black Badger all the time. So enough about Black Badger, okay? No more Black Badger. So yeah, overall, there's not a lot to say about Central Intelligence. It was pretty much, if you've seen the trailer, that's what the film is, you know. For me, I think the trailer gave away quite a lot of the good comedy moments. There was a lot of other comedy moments in the film, a lot of other gags and jokes, but for me, some of the best were in the trailer, which is a little annoying. It kind of happens all the time in comedy films. They put all the best bits in the trailer. But yeah, I think if you've seen the trailer, you like the trailer, you had fun with how it looks, and how it's presented in the trailer, you'll like the film, because the trailer is pretty much what the film is. And if you're a fan of Kevin Hart, if you're a fan of Dwayne Johnson, if you're a fan of comedic double act comedy films, I think you'll really like this film because it was good fun, it was entertaining, it was enjoyable. For me, one of the things that just didn't work was they tried to have these serious themes and issues in there about bullying and friendship and sticking together and standing up, fighting against the bullies. And another kind of film that was more serious and dramatic, that would probably really work. But in this film, it felt out of place. So much of the film was just this silly, outrageous, stupid comedy. Like when they tried to play up this serious theme and issue regarding bullying, it just didn't really work for me. The really big issue about bullying, or the big message that it's trying to deliver, it's really all built upon the opening scene, which is a really silly, stupid, funny comedy scene. It's like we've got Dwayne Johnson's face CGI'd into this little fat kid, and it's silly and over the top and stupid, and yet the whole serious theme and issue and message that they're trying to convey about bullying is all built upon that scene. So it's like you can't really take it seriously because it's such a silly, stupid comedy scene, and the whole film really is a silly comedy, that when they try to put this serious issue and messages about bullying across, it just doesn't really work because it just doesn't really mesh together with the rest of the film. But other than that, I like Central Intelligence. I didn't love it, I didn't think it was a great film, but I think, like I said, it was as good as it needed to be in terms of what the trailer made it out to look like. It really delivered on what you would expect. I think it could have been a better film. I think they could have pushed it a bit further. I think they could have made it even funnier, could have done even more. But for what it was, I think it was fine. So, yeah, I would recommend going to see Central Intelligence if you're a fan of comedy films, if you're a fan of comedic, double act comedy films, if you're a fan of Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, I would go and see this film because it was good fun, it was entertaining, it was enjoyable, you can have fun with it. So, yeah, Central Intelligence.